Picture this. You're lying beside your partner. Maybe for a long time you used to have sex frequently, but now you notice you've stopped. Maybe for months, maybe for years. And a question drifts in. What does it really mean when a woman stops having sex for a long time? What's happening beneath the surface? In her body, in her mind, in the relationship? And what can you actually do about it? Hi, I'm the Intimacy Doctor. Real talk, real science, real intimacy. And today we're going to dive deep into exactly that question. What it means when a woman stops having sex for a long time. We'll explore 3 major insights grounded in relationship psychology and emotional intelligence, backed by scientific or behavioral research, and practical takeaways you can apply. If this resonates, go ahead and hit that like button so more people can find it. And I invite you to share your thoughts below. Has this happened in your life or your relationship? What did you notice? Let's talk first. Let's acknowledge a guiding truth. Not having sex for a long period does not automatically mean something is wrong, but it does invite investigation into other layers of your intimacy: communication, trust, emotional connection, and physical health. According to the overview by Mayo Clinic on low sex drive in women, desire is influenced by a mix of physical well-being, emotional state, lifestyle, and relationship dynamics. Mayo Clinic. So when sex drops out, it's rarely just about sex. It's about what's underneath. Insight. 1. The emotional psychological terrain shifts when sex disappears, when a woman stops having sex for a long time. One major layer involves emotional connection, trust, communication, and the relational context. In other words, sex doesn't live alone. It lives in a relational ecosystem. If communication has slackened, trust has been challenged, emotional connection weakened, then the absence of sex is a symptom rather than the root. For example, research shows that women's sexual interest declines in long-term relationships when novelty, emotional availability, and shared responsibility fade. ABC plus 1. One article points out that, without effort or novelty, women's sexual desire can wane, and that the mental load of daily life often knocks female desire out first. ABC, so what does that look like in practice? Maybe she's tired, maybe caregiving or household responsibilities dominate, maybe the partner hasn't picked up signals, maybe trust or communication around desire has faded. Practical takeaway. If you or your partner have stopped having sex, don't start by blaming lack of desire and isolation. Instead ask, how is our emotional connection? How often do we talk about feelings, vulnerabilities, needs? What has our communication been like? Is there trust and ease or tension and avoidance? Set aside a safe time, maybe once a week, to check in emotionally. No agenda about sex, just feelings, fears, hopes, needs. And you might both ask, what do I need to feel more emotionally safe and connected that might reignite desire? Invite that conversation openly. Share your thoughts below. Would you feel comfortable doing that in your relationship? Insight 2. The body and brain respond to long-term absence of sexual activity in subtle ways. The second insight, there are physical, neurological, and behavioral patterns that shift when sexual activity drops off for an extended period. One might assume if I'm not having sex, nothing's happening, but research shows some important shifts. For instance, an article from Medical News Today explains that while many people won't notice major negative physical side effects from long-term abstinence, there are differences in mood, sexual functioning, and relational dynamics. Medical News Today. Another overview from WebMD indicates that for women, when sexual activity becomes very sparse, changes like vaginal dryness, thinning tissues, or reduced lubrication may become more likely over time. WebMD. In addition, the Mayo Clinic breakdown of low sexual desire in women notes fatigue, health issues, medications, hormonal changes as key contributors. Mayo Clinic. All of this means that when sex disappears for a long time, it isn't just we're not doing it. The body and brain adapt to that pattern. Practical takeaway. Recognize that reigniting sexual activity may require more than just having sex again. It might mean focusing on physical health, sleep, exercise, stress management, attention to hormonal or medication effects, and rebuilding sexual responsiveness gently. For example, if lubrication is reduced or arousal slower, don't expect instant return to old patterns. Use extra foreplay, communication about what feels good, maybe lighten the goal from performance to sensation, conversation, emotional safety. Encourage your partner or yourself to ask, how do I want to reconnect physically and with kindness and patience? And remember, body readiness and neurological rewiring take time. If this resonates, share below. What physical or emotional blocks have you noticed? Insight 3. The meaning of absence. What it signals about the relationship or individual journey. The third major insight. The fact that a woman stops having sex long-term often signals something meaningful, not simply a lack of sex, but a shift in priorities, identity, relational roles, desire, emotional capacity, or life circumstances. In research of adult women who abstained, one study found that periodic voluntary abstinence was associated with positive health behaviors, meaning sometimes the absence of sex is a conscious or adaptive choice rather than pathology. PMC. Another article emphasizes that sexual desire doesn't automatically vanish. It changes and may reflect life transitions, emotional load, relational dynamics, hormonal shifts. Harvard Health. So the meaning of absence might be, I'm tired, I'm carrying more than I should, I don't feel seen emotionally or physically, I'm processing trauma, my body changed and I need to adjust, my relationship needs deeper work. When you shift from asking what's wrong to asking what's being communicated, you open up space for growth. Practical takeaway. Use this period of reduced sexual activity as an opportunity rather than a crisis. Ask yourself and the partner, what is this no-sex period saying about us? What is it saying about me? What am I longing for, emotionally, relationally, physically, that sex used to symbolize? Write or talk. When we were connected sexually, I felt pakibargs. Now I feel agchow. Use that insight. From here, you can rebuild not just sex, but intimacy. Reintroduce date nights, non-sexual touch, shared vulnerability, new experiences. Reset the foundation of trust and communication first, then let sexual closeness flow as a byproduct of that. Invite your partner. If we had 1 month where we rebuild our emotional and physical connection without pressure for sex, what would we do differently? Optional Insight 4, bonus, personal autonomy and individual readiness. We could add a fourth insight. Sometimes the woman stopping sex isn't about the partner at all. It's about her own autonomy, her own internal transformation, maybe a recalibration of desire, identity, or boundaries. We tend to think of sex as something two people either do or don't do, but it's also an expression of individual readiness and emotional equilibrium. So if a woman stops having sex for a long time, it might reflect her saying, I need space. I need to enjoy myself first. I'm exploring something else. I'm reevaluating my emotional or relational life. This shift isn't necessarily negative. It can be growth. Research confirms that abstinence isn't inherently harmful, and many people live satisfying lives without frequent sex. Medical news today. Practical takeaway. Allow space in your relationship for individual journeys. Encourage a partner to say, what do I need right now? How am I changing? Give yourself or them permission not to force sex but to reconnect when ready. Emphasize communication such as, I'm not rejecting you. I'm attending to my own inner life. This way, absence becomes a pause, not a breakdown. Now let's bring it all together. When a woman stops having sex for a long time, it's rarely just about sex. It's about emotional connection, communication, trust. It's about physical and neurological adaptation. And it's about what the absence is signaling, either in the relationship or in individual growth. Your job together, or your job individually, is to translate that absence into questions, dialogue, and action. How is our emotional connection? What's happening physically? What am I longing for? How can we rebuild intimacy in new ways? How can we respect this pause and use it as a springboard rather than chalk it up as failure? Before we close, here are 3 immediate actions you can take after watching this video. 1. Schedule a connection session this week with your partner where you talk for 30 minutes about feelings, needs, desires, no agenda for sex, just emotional check-in. 2. Write down or discuss 3 things you do to support your physical and sexual health: sleep, exercise, stress, hormones, lubrication if relevant. 3. Create 1 small non-sexual intimacy ritual: a hug, a massage, walking hand in hand, touching as friends first, which helps rebuild safety and emotional connection. If this resonates, hit that like button so more people can find it. Share your thoughts below. What is the absence of sex telling you or your relationship right now? And if you enjoyed this discussion, Subscribe to my channel. I'm the Intimacy Doctor. Real talk, real science, real intimacy. Turn on notifications so you don't miss future videos on intimacy, relationships, emotional health, and relationship science. Next, you might want to watch my video about how to rebuild intimacy after a long pause, where we go step by step through communication, emotional reconnection, and physical rebuilding. I'll see you there. Until next time, stay curious. Stay compassionate with yourself and with your partner. And remember that intimacy isn't just about what you do. It's about how you feel and how you connect.